According to Virgin Media's Claire Brock, if you're a white Irish person, even one who grew up in crippling poverty, you are privileged by default because of the colour of your skin. But why exactly should an entire nation tune into a programme just to be unfairly insulted by a media giant presenter and her elite panel? This is Ben Scallon and you're watching Gript Media. Here's a question for you. Why do most people watch television? When you finish your shift and you get home wrecked after a hard day's work, what is it that most people want to see? Light entertainment, something interesting or funny, maybe catch up on the daily news? Well, no, of course not. What people really want is to be morally hectored about their skin colour and condescended to by a panel of some of the most powerful people in our society. And that's a fact that Virgin Media knows better than anyone. Last week, if you tuned into The Tonight Show, you will have seen a segment all about the horrible racism of Irish society and how all Irish people are privileged purely by virtue of being white.
And Yemi, do you believe that people understand the idea of white privilege? It's a theme that's very much come into play with Black Lives Matter in the US, that white people have an advantage in life simply because of the colour of their skin. We don't even necessarily know we have this advantage because we haven't lived in your shoes, but that's the reality. And do you think people understanding that would help us all in turn improve our behaviour and improve the situation that's
Absolutely.
so difficult?
Absolutely. I think if people understand it a lot more, it would help. I have a friend who lives in Waterford, and she shared with me reading a book recently which helped her understand, she's white Irish by the way, which helped her understand that she does have white privileges. And people need to understand that there is such a thing called white privilege.
Now let's just stop and think about this logically for a moment. If you're an Irish working class person who grew up in Tala or the Oliver Bond flats, or maybe you're a rural person from a small family farm who grew up rearing cattle, maybe your parents couldn't afford to send you to college and you became a tradesman, we're seriously to believe that that person has massive advantages in life and an unfair head start because of their skin colour. And meanwhile, who's telling us this? Well, the host of this program, Claire Brock, has been involved in major media organisations since her early 20s, diving into a job with TV3 right out of college. And by the way, she attended DCU, which is in the top 5 universities in the country. As for her guest, Yemi Adenuga, she was born in Lagos, Nigeria, where she had a 10-year-long career as a radio and TV broadcaster. She then moved to Ireland, where she became a reality TV star. She later acquired a bachelor's degree in business from UCD and a master's from John Moores University. And then ultimately, Fine Gael approached her asking her to run for the local election, which she did, and ended up getting elected to Meath County Council, where she now sits. Now, the purpose of bringing all this up is not to downplay these achievements. Both Claire and Yemi no doubt worked hard to get where they are in life, and fair play to them for it. More power to you. But these are life opportunities which many people simply don't get. How many people walk out of a journalism degree right into a job with a top broadcaster? How many people get to go to a top university, one of the most highly ranked in the world in the case of UCD? How many people get approached by one of the ruling political parties and asked to run for election and then win? Well, the answer is not a lot. And yet people who have been afforded these amazing opportunities want to tell some blue-collar workman who makes his living with hard manual labour how privileged he is because of his race. And mind you, they're telling you this with a straight face. Almost everyone on this panel has more institutional power than you will ever have in your entire life. You have the Virgin Media presenter with a huge megaphone and no doubt a generous salary. You have an elected councillor who makes local governance decisions for a county of 200,000 people. You have a Sinn Féin TD on almost 100 grand a year voting on national legislation. And these are the people talking down to you about your privileged position in life. After all, the people of Ireland are so tolerant and so not racist that they have elected people of every race, creed and sexuality possible over the years. At this point, somebody will probably say, but yeah, that's only a few examples. Most politicians are still white. Yeah, most people in Ireland are white. Most teachers and bus drivers and shopkeepers are white. What's wrong with that? It's a mostly white country. That's like going to Tokyo and being horrified that their parliament is mostly Japanese. What else would you expect? You're in Japan. The fact that our leaders think that this is an argument is utterly bizarre.
One thing I strongly agree with the Deputy on is the need to set a target to have a number of people from ethnic minorities in areas of the public service. We have a health service that's very diverse, although less so as you go up towards the senior positions. Not so much in the Gardaí, not so much in the Defence Forces, not so much in the education sector, as the Deputy mentioned, not at all in the civil service, which is very white, including the Department of Equality, for example, and that actually needs to change.
He says the civil service is very white and that needs to change. American commentator Joy Villa had a very great take on this when I asked her about it in a recent interview. But at the time, this guy Leo Varadkar, who's Irish Indian, he said that the civil service is too white and that we need to change that. And this, in any other country, I feel like that would have been really controversial, but it almost just got no media attention and nobody noticed it unless you are in like a very specific circle. And I was just thinking, imagine saying that about any other ethnic group.
Yeah, fill that in. It's too Indian, it's too black, it's too Asian. Like anything you say is too something is bad.
Absolutely.
It's racism, it's prejudice. But when you say white, oh yeah, you're right, it's too white. Let's take a few white people out and put in some people of color. How is that not racist?
The point is, when you get down to brass tacks, Irish people have no problem electing non-white people to represent them. You can get elected if you're black, Asian, Arab, Jewish, Muslim, male, female, Hispanic, mixed race, gay, lesbian. Basically, no one cares. According to the ESRI, migrants tend to be more highly educated than Irish people. Leo Varadkar has even said that migrants are more likely to be working and paying tax than Irish people. So immigrants apparently do better in employment than native Irish people, they're apparently more educated, and there are numerous examples of non-white migrants getting democratically elected to positions of power by the general public. Does this paint a picture of a hateful, oppressive society that gives white people special advantages? We're apparently supposed to believe that a country with no history of colonialism, except our own colonization, and no history of slavery, except our own enslavement, is this horrible, racist hellhole, and we all need to atone for our inherent wickedness. They're so stuck for real-life examples of this, though, that they have to say that hate crimes are massively underreported.
One of the big issues has been low reportage rates. Ireland has very low reportage rates around hate crime.
So, in other words, they can find almost no examples of actual hate crimes, and so what's the conclusion? Well, it must be due to underreporting. They've completely ruled out the possibility that maybe Ireland just isn't that racist. That option is off the table altogether. In fact, the host even called for so-called microaggressions to be prosecuted under law.
What do you see as the solution? Because one of the challenges must be prosecuting this sort of microaggression, these sort of crimes.
For those of us who don't speak radical liberal, a microaggression is defined by Oxford Dictionary as a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority. Now, the key words there are indirect, subtle, or unintentional. As in, you might not even know you did it. If you made a tiny, innocent comment with no ill intent, not trying to offend anyone, but that was accidentally racially insensitive, you should be prosecuted under law so far as this host is concerned. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what grasping at straws looks like. If Ireland was really as racist as these people say, they would not have to scrape the bottom of the barrel looking for these nonsense examples. Our unofficial national slogan is Céad Míle Fáilte, 100,000 welcomes. We never colonized anyone, we never enslaved anyone. In fact, we were the victims of that. We are the least racist country on earth, and if you ask me, we need elitists to stop trying to generate racial tension where there is none. Please like and share this video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider signing up for a monthly donation via the link on screen to help us produce more content like this. Alternative media like Gript needs all the assistance it can get, and every donation goes a long way. As always, thanks for watching.